But while also sending out a bunch of auditions, I've also tracked down a couple of different... I used to. I've not been doing a lot lately, but that's what I'm trying to change. Any pointers? Treating your space is more effective than what equipment you are using. However, having better equipment definitely puts you a leg ahead of most of the game. And then if you take classes, that would be, yeah, except I'm not the person to be giving these answers because I'm not a professional. Yeah, there's a balance for equipment, but you're like, if your equipment's too good, you're going to, and your space is untreated, it's going to sound worse. Like almost you'd be better off with cheaper equipment at that point. So prioritize your space, because your good equipment will highlight the bad space, and then that makes it kind of, it makes it shitty. It's why a lot of people stream with different mics than they record with, because a recording mic doesn't work in a streaming room. That's why we record in booths that are tiny and hot, and you can't really play games. You can't stream like that. It's not, it sounds awful. Hi, Requiem. Yeah, like, I started, well, okay, I did not start with a Blue Yeti. I started with a Disney karaoke microphone that came with my Wii Disney karaoke game. I plugged it into my laptop and recorded for a whole bunch of things that nobody wanted me. But then when I got my Blue Yeti, that's when I actually started getting roles. I never really had a properly treated space. Fucking what? You heard me? But I definitely took advantage of, you know, I created this little box thingy to go around the back of it. This is not new Ray lore. I've talked about this before. I had it on a Q&A video like fucking 6 years ago. I put like this little box behind it, and I put not sound foam because I couldn't afford it. I was like 16, but I put eggshell foam that you put on like a bed around it to make like kind of like a box. So around the back of it, it would do that. So that would soften any noise from the rest of the room. And then behind me, I had like a big old blanket. And that's how I recorded a lot of my first videos. That is how I recorded Lily in How to Be an Adventurer while I was sick as a dog. I had I had the big old comforter over my head. I was sweating. I was coughing. I was dying. I probably gave myself a fever. Totally worth it, because that kind of kickstarted a lot of my projects. But goddamn, that was an awful, awful recording session. And also why my first episode sounds different than any of my other episodes, and I cannot recreate it. It's new to me, alright. That's fair. That's fair. It's fun to tell. It's a great story. I love telling it. Later, you know, I ended up upgrading my mic into the actual XLR microphones, and then I had to you know, get... The problem is when you upgrade to an XLR microphone, it also means you have to upgrade to an interface and the cables and all of that. So it's a double upgrade, and it's more expensive than just the microphone at that point. So a lot of people go to like an AT2020, the USB version, as their second upgrade, because you don't have to get all that extra stuff yet. You can wait. Old memory foam. Yeah. Like, it's all the same thing, really, when you think about it. It's just some are more designed for it, but you can definitely make it work. Let me see. So aside from equipment, aside for the actual voice acting side of it, I want to say don't be picky, but that sounds mean and wrong, because there is definitely a certain amount of picky you need to be with the projects that you audition for. But at the same time, especially when you're first starting out, just getting started, getting yourself moving and practicing is so good for you. Just anything that you can get your hands on, as long as it's not like legitimately problematic or like you're having to deal with a child that's annoying you. Those are my two big ones. But, you know, I ended up doing my own projects mostly, and that's why I started comic dubbing, because I wanted to do something and I wasn't able to do anything. So I said, fuck it, I'm going to do it myself. And I did. And it did well. And that gave me the practice I needed to audition better. So I was able to get other roles and I was able to expand my abilities. So I guess that'd be my other thing is practice with anything you have. Play games, voice all the characters. Even if you give them all the same voice, practice the emotion. And that's another thing. A lot of people think that you have to be diverse with your voices to be a voice actor, and that is not true. Now I know that sounds like it's bullshit coming from me, you know, our lowly voice, you know.
I do this all the time, and this is what people cast me for, and this is not my normal speaking voice, but this is what I do. Nobody wants my normal speaking voice.
But if I could not act in that voice, it wouldn't care. That wouldn't get me anywhere. That's not shit. The more important thing is your ability to act. Yes, Bryce Papenbrook, he has like no range really in terms of vocal type, but goddamn, that man can act. I don't care if you don't like the voices he's done. Like, I don't care, you know, yes, okay, yeah, he's Kirito, Sword Art Online, fine. But you gotta admit, he did a great job for the content he was given. He was not the problem. Yes, how you use your voice. The other thing I would say is be picky about if you take classes. Look into the people you are working with and the people that, because a lot of people can say, I'm gonna teach you how to voice act, that don't know what the fuck they're doing, and they're going to tell you the wrong thing. I recommend Red Scythe Studios from Junyun. He has different workshops every month, and he vets his people very well. So, and he brings in a lot of different people to do different types of classes, so you can pick what works for you. And if you can't afford the full class, there's also just the observer roles where you can just listen in for a lot less money, and it is always really, really good. I did his shortlist competition earlier this year. I did not make it past round 1. I did get the live feedback, so I got to watch it on stream, as well as all the other people that went in for live feedback. And that was probably the most learning, I guess, or the most teaching I've ever gotten in voice acting. And it was only a couple of minutes, but it brought me, and even just watching the other people as well, you never get to see that. And so I got to hear a bunch of different types of voices for the same set of audio that we were given to record. There was a lot. It's a really good experience. Also know your voice. You'll find your voice. You don't have to know your voice. You'll find your voice. For how long? Okay, that is true. Yeah, it's one thing. I don't care if you can do Scooby-Doo. Can you hold Scooby-Doo for a very long time? Because sessions are long. And can you emote in Scooby-Doo? Because I know like that's I can't do Scooby-Doo, but that's what I'm like saying is as an example mainly. That was like my biggest problem with Tomo, because I can kind of get into the tomboyish voice. I don't have a lot of practice with it, so I had a lot of trouble holding emotive scenes or really loud scenes with Tomo. I always ended up getting back into that squeak, which in a way made it more real because people don't have the same voice all the time. But in animation, a lot of the time, they want you to be able to hold the voice because that's how you're going to recognize the character. So it is important. Not that you can't play with it a little bit, but it's just something to keep in mind. They want you to be able to do the range. And a good audition will already have you doing the range, so you'll know in advance. Because I could do almost anything in my little stupid gremlin voice. I did a project where I was trying to play an older character, like a mature adult, like lower than my natural speaking voice and kind of like this, and she was being like kind of yearning for something, and ooh, but then she gets injured and she's just screaming, and it was I ended up going up, And my director said, you can't do that. That's not what the character sounds like. I'm like, well, that's what I sound like, because if someone hit me and I was bleeding out, I don't think I would care too much about if I was still in my same vocal range. It's probably gonna sound more like, dying. I guess my last piece of advice is listen to your body. Do not push it beyond your limits. At least, if you're going to, if you're trying to like extend your limits, do it safely, please. Because you will overwork yourself. You will hurt yourself. I'm speaking from experience, and I'm speaking of other people's experiences. Yes, you can fuck up your voice, and you can do so permanently. Yeah, and if you're doing a long session and you have like a lot of different types of scenes, do the intensive scenes last. Get all of the rest done first, come back to those later, because if you try to keep going after those, it's not gonna work. You gotta rest, drink some tea, vocal rest. I've got these little, like, they're not mints, they're kind of like mints. They're they kind of like coat your throat and help it heal and help protect it. So I know there's some that are better before and some that are better after. They're not quite cough drops. They're better for like your vocal cords. Let me see. Hang on. Where are they? I have them over here somewhere. Yes, of course. I will talk about this endlessly, as very apparent since I've just talked about this for 20 minutes straight without stopping. Michi mints. Michi. Yeah, they're called Ninjom. Ninjom. I definitely recommend them. They may not taste great. I don't care. They're really good for you. If you have done something that's a bit beyond your range and you need to recover, these are fantastic. I have not had to use them lately because I know my limits more or less, and they've become less and less of a problem as time goes on. But it does take time to get there. So yeah, that's my rant on voice acting, getting into voice acting. If you're not an editor and you can't, like, or you don't have any kind of inspiration on making a project, then just audition. Casting Call Club's a great resource for new voices. There's a lot of just garbage projects on there, especially nowadays, but you know, so is life. You got all the kids that have access to it and they're gonna make their little Roblox shows. It's fine. Just, you know, look through the projects, look for what you're interested in. Try not to let it get to you too much when you know, send and forget, audition and forget. Don't worry about it afterwards, because the thing is, you are fighting probably a lot of people. And I found a lot of the times in the voice acting community, the amount of times I've auditioned for a project just for that role to go to somebody that the director already knows. It does happen, and it happens quite frequently. Yeah, because you get to try a lot of different things, you know? You're not committing to a character, so... But again, the biggest thing, though, is don't audition for a character with a voice you can only kind of do, just to, if you can't do it. I'm trying to remember. I think I did that once when I was really, really young. And so my performance was not as good as it could have been. The other thing is, and this is going to just be kind of like a brutal, I'm sorry. Some directors are not meant to be directors. Some directors are full of shit. Some directors are going to have you do a take that sounds like dog shit. And they're going to use that take. And you're going to watch the final product and you're going to be like, why? Why? Why didn't you do any other take that I did? It's just going to happen. Sorry. I have directors that now they've gotten better. I have directors that I struggled with a lot at first, and so I'm shocked that we still work with each other, because I would have figured they were sick of me. But as time passes, now we kind of settled into each other's styles, both me understanding their directing better and them understanding my abilities better. And so now it's good, but it does not start that way for a lot of directors. So especially if you're working with someone who is young or it's their first time, you're going to have patience, and you're going to have to accept the inevitable that there's gonna be a bit that you go and you're like, I am so excited to see how this goes. And it's gonna be an awful take. I have learned that I say words weird. And that bothers me a lot of the time. And just a lot of words that I can't say and I know how to say them, or words that I just don't know how to pronounce straight up. Drives me insane.
I'm like, this is my job! This is the one thing I'm supposed to be able to do!
But I am working on new projects, and I'm really happy to be working on new projects. Even if right now it is just like the early parts to working on it, I'm still happy to be working on it. I'm gonna finish setting up like the casting document if I don't get like a recommendation from a friend first. I'm trying to do that first because the last thing I want to do again is start up a casting call just to cast someone I already know. I don't talk to a lot of the people in the voice acting community much anymore because I was on hiatus for 2 years. So I gotta remember who I can work with again. Everything exploded while I was gone. My One Piece time skip. It's like I walked out for pizza and I came back and everything was on fire. I've got a friend that's in Genshin now. I say friend, he's an acquaintance. I've worked with him before. He's in Genshin now. My man's living the dream. To be fair though, I've been in projects that I get to share a cast list with people that I adore, and that makes me happy. I've gotten to, I say work with, I've gotten to share a cast list with Danny Chambers. Oh my god, I love her so much. I respect her so much. She's amazing. She does not get the credit that she is due. I've gotten to share a cast list with oh my god, I can't talk! Never mind, guys! I don't want to be a voice actor anymore! I've gotten to share a cast list, someone else's project, with Kaiser Neko. That was something. That was like a legitimate jaw drop moment when I saw that, because I'm just like, okay, I'm gonna record and then do. You have who playing who? Or Giguk? God. Sid Snap. I'm like, guys, my little D-list voice acting ass is getting to... My name is right next to theirs. They don't know who I am, but it's okay. I know who they are, and it makes me happy. It makes me feel like I'm doing something. And then I went on hiatus for 2 years.